We're sitting here looking at Proxmox Virtual Environment 7.4-3. We do not have a license because this is a home lab, so this video is basically done without a license. I would strongly encourage you to, if you're in a production environment, to get a license. If you go over to repositories, what you'll see is the enterprise repository is enabled, but there's no active subscription. So this is what I mean. You probably need a subscription here, but right now we're going to disable it. Some things are interesting are going to happen. We're going to add a no subscription environment, and we're good. So what we're going to do is go over to the updates, and we're going to refresh. Now this simply executes the command apt-get update. You could do this in a shell window and you'd have the same thing. Here's your task, okay. You come back and it populates everything here. So if you do an upgrade, it launches a window in which it says apt-get distribution upgrade. We'll see those commands again in a moment. So we'll say yes, and we're upgrading the distribution. So we'll pause here and come back in a second. All right, we're back. We're at the shell. It says your system's up to date. You can do this, you can leave. You can do a refresh. And what you'll get, reading the package list, app update, task completed okay, and there's nothing to update. So now, this doesn't solve the problem of getting out of 7 and into 8. Now, we're doing this a little premature, so when this video is made, 8 is not classified as stable, and you'll see something about that as we go along. Okay, so I went to the Proxmox website, upgrade from 7 to 8. It is the comprehensive, meaning that it deals with all of the different, like for example, updating the Ceph package, dealing with GPU hardware. We don't have any of those here. We have simply a system which was installed, which has even no virtual machines. If you had some virtual machines, you'd want to back them up, get them out of there. But we don't have that. So let's take a look. This is the baseline of upgrading. But I would reference this in case you have other things to deal with. It talks about backing up your virtual machines and your containers before you continue. And it gives you a couple of commands. So what we're going to do is we're going to execute this command. We're going to check everything. To do that, we'll go over to shell. We'll do a paste. You hit enter, and it goes through, and it did a total of 29 tests. 24 of them passed. 5 of them were skipped. Now, why were they skipped? There's no NVIDIA here. They just don't apply. So the ones you're worried about is the warnings and the complete failures. You're going to really look at that. So in our particular case, we seem to have passed. Okay, more information about virtual machines and containers. Okay, so now, a minute ago, we saw these two commands. We actually first make sure your system is up to date. We did that. So now, I would say if you did not do that now. But here, I'll show you what I mean. If I go over here and do a paste, it does exactly what I was doing in the updates right here. And it says all packages are up to date. Then if I do a copy off of this, come back over here and paste that, now there's nothing to update. Well, I could look at the version and I can paste that, and there's my version. Now it says 7.4.16, This says 743. Sometimes that it's out until you refresh it, and suddenly it refreshes that. Okay, let me hit the arrow up. There was the... So if you get them that are this and this are not the same, just hit the refresh the website and they should align. The next thing he says is, hey, we're going to be going from Bullseye to Bookworm. That's the name of the Debian release. At the time of this video, it is not classified that Bookworm is stable. However, many people are considering it stable, and you'll see something interesting as we go through this that indicates that they do not consider it stable at this point. Let's go look at the repositories. What you see is they're all under the Bullseye. They all have Bullseye here. That's not what we want. We want Bookworm. So we're going to copy this. And what this is doing is a stream editor in which it replaces the Bullseye with Bookworm globally, and all the files there are in that. Okay, so let's go back over to, again, stream editor. We're going to substitute Bullseye for Bookworm, and this is where we're going to substitute it at. Okay, hang on. What happened here? Okay, I hit the return twice. Go back over to repository and look what you see. Bookworm, 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 Bookworm. Bullseye, something's wrong there. Okay, we can go to the next thing in the list. And we're going to look right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this file. Before I echo this into there, I want to look at it. What's in there? Okay, so I'm going to do nano, do a paste, and look at what I have. I have Debian. That's what was sitting. I'm sorry. Let me go back. I should have said, I see Bullseye Enterprise with an asterisk in front. Okay, you want to see what happens? Here, it's enabled now. Go back, hit the arrow up key. It is not that it's commented out now. This is not what he says we want. He says, in this file, we would like to see this. Compare this. Hang on. It won't go past that. Hang on. Yeah, it will. Compare this with the line that sits here. The only difference is the Bullseye got replaced by Bookworm. Okay, I'll do that. I'm fine with that. So I'm going to copy this whole thing. Do a copy. I'm going to do a paste. And then I'm going to go 2 up and look at that file. Look, it just changed it to Bookworm. But guess what? It's still enabled. I can disable it. And it'll put the comment in front of it. Now he also says for this, for no subscription repository, see that you can do some stuff down here. Now we've already kind of taken care of that. So the next thing he says is we slide down. Now we don't have any CIF. So if we did, we would follow that. And here's what you're supposed to do again. So you do an update. Now watch what happens on this update. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a paste as blank. Oops, sorry. I'm going to do a copy. And we do not want to do this. We are going to paste apt update. And he says, voila, there are 586 packages. Remember that number, 586. Look at the updates. Hang on. 559 here, 77 there. So we've got a bunch of Proxmox things needs updating as well as that. So we're back over here. What he says now is, I want to do the distribution upgrade. Now you could do both of these the other way, and that is using this. You could do refresh and then upgrade, or you could go over here and type these commands. When you do refresh, it does that. When you do an upgrade, it does this. So he's saying we're going to do it in the command line or in the shell, and here we go. Now this is going to take a while, so while it's going, I'm going to bring up a couple of points here. If you scroll on down, you'll see, I actually don't have to scroll that far, there is some issues that need to be answered. Common configuration files with changes, and the recommended choices are, so I'm reading right here. So he has this one, and this one. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through this one by one. Now I will pause the video occasionally because it's just sitting here doing that. And as long as it's doing that, it's just basically watching a football or baseball game. You're just sitting there in the audience. So you can go get to the concession stand. You can go do what you want. So we're just going to pause and come back in a second. So it comes back with this thing. This is basically a description, kind of like, I'm going to hit the space bar. Oops, wait a minute. Get over here, make sure I'm in the right thing. Hit the space bar here. Go through the thing. And what you're going to do, there's a lot of things that are written here. And then you can do a quit. It continues, and suddenly it comes back with some questions for you. So I like my keyboard. Okay, now it says configuration file for this. Well, that's the first thing he says. So you look down in here and he says using default is safe here. Okay, default is good. He says default is good. I'm going to hit enter. It goes for a little while, and it says services are installed yourself need to be restarted. Restart the service during the package upgrade without asking. Nah, I think I'm going to stick to that. Here's some of the services. I'm going to leave it as is. Now we're just watching the game take place now. Okay. So here, it's a configuration file for secure shell. And so what he'd basically suggest is, if you've not changed the file, the only difference should be replacing it. If this is the case, both options are safe, though we would recommend installing the package maintainers version in order to move away from the depreciated option. If there are other changes, we suggest. So install the package maintainers version. I'm going to go up here. I'm following what he says. And I hit the, okay, here we go. Okay, LV config. Changes relevant will be updated. Newer version might be useful. If you do not make any extra changes, unsure, suggested. Yes. So we're going to hit yes. So let me double check that. Choose yes. That is not the default. Neither was the last. Wow, we're almost finished. Okay, source list PV Enterprise. I don't see this in the discussion list, so let's look at it in detail. Configuration file, modified by you or by the script since installed. Package distributor has shipped an updated version. The default action is to keep your current version, PV Enterprise. default? No. Okay, we're fine with that. It shouldn't be long now. Notice something popped up right here. Okay, now it still says we're in 7.4.16. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go back up till I see. I'm using the arrow up to give it a second. It says I now have 804. Let's recycle, reload. 804. There you go. So we have accomplished our task. Wait a minute. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Here we go. That's what I wanted to hit. 8.0.4. We've successfully done it. We now can go look at our repositories. We see bookworm, 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 bookworm everywhere. Now, earlier you might have seen a little color here saying this is not a stable version. However, as the clock of time ticks by, everyone will say the bookworm is stable, and so it will become stable soon. By the time you're doing this, it might be stable. And that's pretty much it. That's all you have to do. I would strongly suggest looking at this and following it in excruciating detail, because there are things here that I may not have done because they do not apply to me. So with that, I will say we're done.